We will call to order this meeting on September 3rd of the Commission for the Arts at 5:01. So has everyone signed in? We'll do roll call.
Let the record show that all commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioner Kadakia, who is absent.
Do we want to amend? Okay. So we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, any special presentations and proclamations?
There are none.
And any oral communications?
There are no oral communications.
Great. So we have one change to the agenda, which is to move the review of the bylaws workshop and discussion from number 5 to the first item under 8A. Please. Good. Okay. There are no other changes to the agenda, and we'll move on to the approval of the minutes, 7A, which is from our regular meeting minutes from August 5th. Has everyone had a chance to read those, and would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
Yes, I will motion to approve.
Okay, I will second.
Let the record show that the motion passes with all commissioners voting yes, except Commissioner Hebert, who is absent.
Thank you. And moving on to approve the August 8th Joint Commission Special Meeting minutes. Again, for those who attended or listened to.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Let the record show that the motion passes with all commissioners voting yes, except Commissioners Hebert and Kadakia, who are absent.
Thank you. So we will move on to
Point of order.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not absent, and I did vote yes.
But you were absent weren't you absent at the meeting?
But this is to approve the minutes, right?
for any, you have to have attended a meeting in order to approve those minutes or
I
have
see.
listened in.
I see, okay. Well, I withdraw.
Good. Okay. So we'll move on to the first item, which is to review the bylaws workshop. And the Director of Parks and Recs, Cultural Arts, Dave Knopp, is here tonight. I don't mind just handing it over to you, Dave, to give an overview, and then I will take it back and kind of discuss about what the commission itself can do.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I apologize. I don't have my nameplate, which Jamie was kind enough to make for me, and I left it in the office. I apologize. I appreciate everyone that had the time and was able to come to the August 8th bylaws workshop and work together with the commissions from the Commission of the Arts, Senior Citizen Commission, and Park and Recreation Commission. I won't read, and trust me, I won't read all the notes. I'm just going to hit highlights. But each board, commission, or committees established by the City Council is authorized to adopt its own rules and regulations to assist in the conduct of their business, so long as such rules and regulations are consistent with the provisions of City Council policies. It's called C003. So when you don't have bylaws, and of the commissions under Park, Recreation, and Cultural Arts, only Park and Recreation has a set of bylaws to work off of, then the City Council policy is your bylaw until you create one, if you so wish. So you've started down that road of creating your own bylaws, and those bylaws can be adjusted over time, but you're setting up a set of rules and policies for this specific commission to follow. If in that process you create an ad hoc committee to move those along, as director, I'm more than willing to help by attending those meetings and being part of the ad hoc group. And so I look forward to that opportunity, I hope. So at our August 8th meeting, I shared some examples from other cities. And it's something that we can provide, or to be honest, in a lot of it, it was just going on Google and looking up different cities, so what they had to offer for their bylaws. But there were some things that we pointed out as part of the process of the workshop. Some of those were defining a chairperson's roles and what they do and keep things in order. And then one of the interesting links was also typically the chair and an assistant or someone else in support of an item. When it goes to City Council, that's who does the presentation. It's not staff run. Your commission isn't being run by staff. It's being run by you and by your chair. That's where the presentation should go, is what a lot of other cities do. You know, and the vice chair and the commissioner, each of their roles is typically defined in the bylaws. I called out because I thought it was important from my role to talk about the timeliness of meetings and how it's important for the city side of it to make sure that we are efficient and we do the best job we can in keeping things in order, being efficient so things are done correctly, and we're not wasting the time and energy. It's a big deal that you took the time to apply for these positions, interview and accept them when this opportunity came, and then what you do in the community. So your time is important. But I also point out that the city's time, currently in this role, there's 3 of us here, and there'll be other people that will help with putting the minutes together, putting this on video or recording. And so we want to value that time and make the most of it. And that's part of the bylaw process. In the meeting and going through the workshop, commissioners got together in groups of 3 to 4 and worked on topics, brought them together, and then kind of talked some of them out. So I want to share some of them, but like I said, I won't read the entire document to you. But things that the commissioners in those groups said were important, and like, please remember in bylaws to touch. And that was the duties and responsibilities of the commission chairperson, the duties and responsibility of the commissioners, to spell that out. So someone new coming in who had a question about how are things done would be able to look at your bylaws and say, okay, if I'm in this role, this is what my responsibilities. A clear code of conduct. Part of the training, but also the expectation of commissioners and how to behave in a meeting. And I'm sorry, behaviors, it sounds like a bunch of children, but how do we do things? And that's part of that, making things efficient. When are there, for an example, conflict of interest? What is a conflict of interest, and what does it mean to step away from the commission when it's in your area or you're impacted, you have a business decision to make in it? When do you step away? And we talked about it in the workshop, and that you can still be involved, you just don't serve as a commissioner. So if there was an art piece going in at a corner by your house, and so you felt that was a conflict of interest if you were to discuss it yay or nay, there's nothing stopping you from making it clear that you're not in the role of commissioner, sitting out in the audience and taking your 3 minutes to discuss it. We just always want to be clear of what that role is. It also was the discussion of the Brown Act and the fact that serving on a commission, you by law must follow that. And what I mean by that is if 4 of you make contact and discuss something that's related to arts, might come to the commission, is coming to the commission, that's a violation because it's all about public communication and that everything is out in the clear and in the open. That's why your ad hoc committee has a limit of 3. And if you're on an ad hoc committee, what you can't do if it's a group of 3 is call a 4th person to discuss, because that makes that violation. Now you're having 4 people, and if you were to have a discussion of how things were going to go, how things were going to be approved or not approved, that's the violation of California law. Not to scare you, but that's the Brown Act. Another item was, clear mission statement, and this is from all the commissions. Is like, what is it that we do? What is our clear mission statement? It's the way we move forward and making that part of the bylaws. And there were a lot of little dot points of what they wanted to see in a mission statement. A lot of talk came up. What I mean by this is multiple tables discuss new commission selection process and training orientation. So what does it mean to be a commissioner and wanting to actually be part of, can we make recommendations as a commission? Do you want that in your bylaw? I think in the discussion of Commission for the Arts, there are some expectations of some involvement or knowledge in different art areas. So having that clearly as part of the bylaws. And what do you want? What do you want to call out in that part? So that's part of possible bylaws. But making sure that someone coming into this role is prepared and has as much knowledge as we can share before they take on this role and be helpful and help them be successful. Defining, kind of in the same path, defining service to the community. What does it mean? What is it? So what as a commissioner, is the expectation for service to the city? What is it to be volunteer as a commissioner? What does it mean to be an advocate? How to collect information and bring back to the commission? Follow direction from city council. I'll share that since the workshop, there's been discussion with city council on being, and this is in individual meetings, on being the role of community input. So there are times where we always look to survey or get out and ask the community and get boom, boom, boom answers. Instead, some of our role should be to invite people to this meeting. Just like Park and Rec, like I said, had 50 people in the last meeting. Trust me, it was very much oh my, we've never seen this. So looking for those opportunities for the public to come here to share what they want and not want. So part of that service. There was discussion about ADA inclusivity, which has led to discussions from that about what does the law allow and not allow in a commission. I've gotten clarification from our city attorney that we need you here. California law doesn't allow you to serve on a commission virtually. You can't be an at-home commissioner for every one of the meetings. There's a lot of work to make it happen one time. But the expectation is here. But we also have to do everything we can to make it accessible. Just a small one, you might notice the podium, there's an up and down button so that if someone came and they were in a wheelchair or needed to be in a chair, the ability to lower the podium so that they can speak, maybe see presentation is part of our requirement. So if you're doing bylaws, is that something that you want spelled out in the bylaw? Was part of our discussion. And then finally, the process for setting meetings, times, and extending meetings when needed. We talked about the fact that if you have a really important thing and you're not going to make it in your time frame for this meeting, part of the look is, should we have a special meeting? Is it so important working with staff? Should we set another time for another meeting for that purpose? And then setting the agenda and the chairperson's role, just like she did tonight. It was great. Thank you for moving me to the front. I've dinner reservations tonight. I really appreciate it. But that's part of the role in that discussion with city representation of what does the agenda look like, and do we need to move things around and make it appropriate and make it best use of our time. So those are just some of the things that were discussed in the workshop. I thought it was very valuable. We did not solve the bylaw world issues. We just was a starting point. And how you move forward, there is not a requirement for bylaws. It's in your workshop. We would hope that you would help define those things through the bylaw process, but that is one of the tools that is out there, and I think it's a goal, right? I mean, part of the workshop is create your bylaws. But, so we move forward. I'd gladly answer any questions, and I'm here to listen also.
Thanks so much. That was a great overview of what took place there. And yeah, I think having attended the general feel of the room, there were other commissioners from two other commissions, and I think everyone was generally enthused to have this opportunity to really clarify roles, responsibilities, relationships, like what are the relationships between commissioners, between commission and city council, between staff and commission. And it's also that feeling that we as a body get to decide how we want to achieve our ordinance, which has been set forth for us. So my suggestion, I'm happy to hear from anyone else who was there, but my suggestion would be that we do create an ad hoc. It is, I would say it's probably going to be a considerable amount of work without overextending it, but it does cover a lot of different topics. You want to think about the things that we can do, what we can't do, what we want to encourage, how we want to define ourselves. There were other topics that were hit upon, such as the work plan, social media and internet, cancellation and why. Director Knopp did an awesome job of looking over and sharing most of those topics, but any topic that we wanted to add to that, we can. So I guess now, does anyone else have anything they want to add to this overview? Yeah.
I just have a question. What is the goal for us to submit a draft of these bylaws?
I think it's part of our work plan, and so our goal is to draft bylaws. So my understanding is that it's work that we would hope to achieve by the time we end this year, and can probably get them to City Council and to the City Attorney to be approved before the end of the year.
For the end of the work plan year.
But
Okay.
there's lots of projects that do carry over to the next year's work plan as well. So yeah, I haven't understood that there's any specific date that we must get it done by.
I would agree. There's not a set date, and you've never had bylaws, as far as we can tell. So moving that forward would be huge.
So yeah, it would be 3 people. If we wanted to form an ad hoc, you would just want to get a temperature as far as how many people are interested in being on that. Okay, Commissioner Marakovitz.
I would commit to this, just a very busy time of the year. But come January, if there's still a need for the ad hoc or to be drafting, I'd be happy to join at that time.
Okay, great. Okay. So I will say this is something that I feel is a goal of mine, just as a commissioner, is to get us up and running as effectively as possible. So this has been something I've been trying, not bylaws specifically, but everything that falls under process and how we understand our roles. So I would like to participate, but I also am participating as chair so much. You guys hear from me too much already. So Robin, if you want to join, it wouldn't, it would be until you couldn't come on in January if there were 3 of us already on. And I feel like it would be beneficial to have people on who are wanting to work on it now. So it would be then the following year, the work plan is redone, starting to talk about in March and then approved in April, May, June, that's we could reshuffle it. But if you would like to join now, and then have the other 2, I don't know how to go about that. So the options are for the 3 of us to be on and be working now consistently, or for the 3 of you to be on with Robin, knowing that your time is extremely limited right now.
Yeah, and I'll just say that if I was to join now, probably what I could do in the interim would be to review drafts, it's just the kind of the process of going about creating the draft, the meetings and whatnot might be a challenge.
Okay.
So,
If I could,
Yeah.
just to clarify, and it's kind of a belief, and I can double check with the state attorney, but I think you are in the place where if you choose 3 today, or actually it's the first time you meet, if 3 meet, you probably can't switch out after the first of the year. It's,
After once our next work plan is approved.
It's my understanding that that is only possible for the same exact project if a commissioner steps off. So
Oh.
then that person is no longer considered part of that, part of the commission because they've termed off, then that position could be available if it's the same exact project. I could see how you would question something like, well, what about the visual art jurying? It's a different group of variables year to year, so that changes, whereas the work plan is going to be a continuation of the same set of variables.
Right. Okay.
Well, I think it would behoove to get on it as soon as possible, because the work plan expires, if you will, in April. So there's just a lot to do.
Well,
And
I
it's
think the
September.
point is that it will probably, if we do start working on it, it will probably be approved. Like I'd assume we would all want to continue to have it be on our next year's work plan, that would be approved. So there's no. This is just more about the 3 people who get assigned tonight to this ad hoc will probably be the ad hoc until it comes to the commission for a review of a draft. And perhaps I could see something like this, because it's such a big deal, to be workshopped at some point. So probably call for a special meeting, or to try to have it be the only agenda item, so that everyone could feel that they could have a significant role to play. Let me ask staff this question: like, would that constitute a good reason for a special meeting?
I could see that being an important thing. We just would need to schedule that around staff's availability.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have a question about like the progress or the development of the bylaws. So say that the bylaws are created, but they're not completely done by April of 2025, and then it goes on the work plan for the next year. Since there's certain commissioners who would be on it who are like, I guess you could say, like authors or something like that of it, do they continue on for the next year on that ad hoc?
Yeah, I think that's
Because
what
of
Colette is saying, is that
Okay.
this particular ad hoc, any ad hoc that's going to do work that is, if I'm understanding correctly, that is a continuation of the same work where there's nothing different about it. So the ad hoc form tonight would be the ad hoc for this work, until it's complete.
Or until perhaps, if there had been a member on that ad hoc who terms out or leaves the commission, that position can
yeah.
then be filled.
Of course.
I mean, I can step down. Katie, you can be part of it, and I can focus on the other ad hocs. I mean, I'm open to that. You'd make it really
I'm also
good. You'd make it really
open
good
not to
when
being on it.
I think it would be beneficial for you to be on it. That's what I feel.
Mhm.
But and plus I have these other ad hocs, and there's a bunch of other things that I want to bring to the table. So maybe the 3 of you can. Is that okay? I mean, but then you have to sort of start right away. That's the only.
yeah, I think it sounds like you need to get started right away. I don't think I can commit to what is necessary to get it to where it needs to be.
Okay.
So I probably shouldn't join the ad hoc. Happy to, of course, do special meetings and support it in other ways, though.
Okay. One thing we could do, as the ad hoc is to just be sure to put attachments to our agenda on every month so that everyone has a chance to be reviewing the drafts every month. So that way we can, during the meeting, we can really chime in and be, having edited already. It just means you can't be sending emails during the month. And that's something as if I were on the ad hoc, like I'm comfortable committing to and really making an effort to get it to staff well in time. The draft, because it has to be 2 weeks, Colette, is desirable, but is 1 week the absolute, or before the agenda is posted?
A lot of times it just depends whether there's holidays in there and what other kinds of things, whether we're closed on a Friday, that can affect it. So having 2 weeks is great because then if I have questions, am I missing a page, there's more time to sort that out and make sure I've got exactly what you meant to have included. If we're getting down to that wire, I try to route things the week prior because a number of eyes need to take a peek at that and get it ready for posting. So yes, corrections can be made and it can be reposted, but it goes back to that good use of staff time. So we try and minimize that as much as possible.
Sure. My one hesitancy about the 2 weeks prior is that then that's 2 weeks of working time that we may have worked a lot on it before our meeting, that then you wouldn't see all that work, as opposed to having 3 weeks to work on it and then know that that's like the deadline date that we have to get a document to you and know that confidently that can be attached.
Sure, and just the more time you get it to me, the more all that double checking can happen. If you got it to me that week ahead, I'm literally going to attach it.
Okay,
So there's just some
great.
pros and cons.
Yeah. Okay, so that can just be, done on a monthly basis. And Robin, again, if you, not to, keep at this, but if it's something that's very important to you, I'm okay not being on it as long as you feel you can, be doing it and then really commit to it come January. So.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, I think they are very important. I think I'm just going to be the most useful in the review and the input, as like you say, each
Okay.
month in the meetings or for a special committee meeting. So I think in your position, it makes good sense to be part of the ad hoc.
Okay. So then it looks like Commissioner Kadakia, Commissioner Morakovitz, and Commissioner Fox for the bylaw ad hoc.
Basically, we kind of skipped over into the work plan there.
No, that was, I'd say, that's okay. That was the topic at hand. And it's good for Dave to know who's on the ad hoc. But I do feel like that item is complete now. And
I had a quick question. You were asking about any questions, and it's just a small thing, but you mentioned, and thank you, you mentioned the Parks and Rec Commission meeting having 50 people. Was there kind of a special discussion going on, or is there some sort of something they know that we don't about exciting people to come in and participate?
So that wasn't a normal, like their meetings typically have a couple people. That was, you had a group that is interested in skateboarding, skate bowl, and they had organized the public to come. The three of them, there was three of them, they gave a quick presentation, and the other 50 were here just in support of it.
That's good.
They could have all spoke. I mean, we could have had a meeting with 50 different speakers. But that's part of the value. I mean, if you're bringing something of interest to the community, and this is a forum in which some people want to come and discuss it, you've had speakers before. You could end up with a large group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay. So we will move down the line under action item 8A to the work plan itself. And then we will hit upon number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 6 as we go. So for the first item, Commissioner Abert, do you have a report yet, or is that meeting hasn't come on board till Thursday?
That's right, yeah. The last meeting was, sorry about that. Been away for a little while. Yeah, I don't really have much until the next one comes around, so, yeah, so
Okay.
give a roundup at that point.
That was, I'm straddling here, but I mentioned the fact that I think I had asked, we had discussed that you weren't going to be there. I had shared something that you had emailed me as a draft, was as a summary, which was fantastic. During the bylaw workshop, we realized that actually wasn't really okay to do. That anything that was any communication had to be posted publicly first. It wouldn't have,
Okay.
obviously it didn't occur to me. But I'm just
Yeah.
remembering now to mention it to all of us that we always have to go through staff, potentially have it be put on the agenda, and then that could be read out loud. So that was just a note that I wanted to
no,
share with the
that's-
rest of the commission.
It's good to know.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, oh, I made a big mistake. Okay. So moving on to number 2 under arts advocacy, research available funding opportunities to support city arts and programs. Does anyone have anything to update or talk about there? Okay. We will move on to number 3, the promotion of city arts programs.
Can I just say something about number 2? We're at 2, right? We were just at 2. I just want to say that we're starting to get into the second half of the year. So it's really good to start like keeping your eyes open, just saying. For the new dates that are coming out for grants and for this and that. I've noticed it's like, it kind of happens like at the end of the year, toward the end of the year. So I'm just saying as an FYI, just keep your eyes out for things like that.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely good as a reminder, and I'm happy that it's on our work plan for that reminder as well. Okay, so
I have a quick question actually for number 2, and I don't actually know if it fits number 2 or not. But there are a few things I wanted to discuss as probably a commissioner initiated agenda item. But I wanted to know if that fits in this number 2, where potentially having partner network with different city art programs that also bring in sponsorship. So now, would that be number 2, or would that be a whole separate agenda?
and I think that is, if it's about bringing in money to support city programs, that and any kind of funding is under number 2. I mean, number 2 is, there's a whole list. Those are just examples. If
it's an existing city program.
If it's existing.
Existing within the work plan. So if you were to propose something brand new,
Yeah.
that falls more under, because you're going to propose something
Right.
new.
Okay.
I
think it
I
would
guess
be
if you're going to
then.
propose a new program, but if you're proposing funding to support a program that exists already, then it would be
I
now.
think I'm proposing a partnership that could bring in funding with, a network partnerships with other organizations around, and then that will bring in funding. So that will be this. And I don't have more information on that. That's why I'm not very
Yeah.
clear about this, because I am in the process of getting more information.
My understanding is that would fall under this.
Okay.
You're not talking about in the same way that if you had come up with something about sponsorships or the percentage of the arts or a naming opportunity with an organization, we would be discussing that here. I remember when we created this item, those were all, it says such as these
Right.
things.
Right.
So
right.
I believe, you're not talking about creating a new city art program. You're
Okay.
talking about mode of funding programs So yeah, if next month you have more to bring,
Yes.
then for sure.
Perfect.
And that's something that you can also, again, ideally 2 weeks, but as long as, if there's any item that you want to have attached to the agenda so we can all take a look at it before,
Yes,
then you can send that to
I'll do
Colette.
Thank you so much.
Mm. So for promotion and such for the Pacific View Art Center, this is on number 3 now. I don't believe the ad hoc has an update for that one. We've been busy working on other areas of the work plan. Okay. And Commissioner Hebert, do you have any updates for promoting Art Night?
I think I'll know better when the next one rolls around. Talking to Jess and finding out a little more about what is coming up and everything.
Okay.
So we'll get on that.
Sounds good.
Just to clarify, it is now Britt since Jess is
Oh.
at Pacific View.
Yes, thank you.
So I can have her reach out to you so that you guys can set up some time.
That would be great. Thank you.
Fantastic. Other programs, that's an open ad hoc. Does anyone want to hop on that? Okay. Number 4 under arts advocacy is the research and coordinate brief presentations to bring speakers to our meetings. I know we have had a meeting. We have a Google Doc with people who we've reached out to, and I know I have someone who is potentially going to present. You do too.
Right. Yeah, we were looking at maybe September, maybe this meeting, but the timing didn't work out.
Mm-hmm.
But October and November, definitely possibilities. So whichever, if we can coordinate the schedules of our respective candidates, I think we can make that happen.
I think yours is probably harder to nail down than
Okay.
than mine. So if you want to reach out to her and see when she would like to, which meeting she'd like to
Yeah.
speak at, then that would help.
Okay. Yeah, I have a question out to her about October, and I wanted to potentially time it with, bringing back that commissioner initiated agenda item about the involving the letter to the council about the theater pad.
Okay.
So, because it's kind
That's
of
right.
relevant to
Yeah,
Christiane, who's the artistic director at New Village Arts. So, yeah.
fantastic. Okay. Moving on to arts education, number 5, and the artist in residency program at Pacific View. Commissioner Romer, do you have an update about that?
I don't have any updates yet.
Okay. I do know that you have been speaking with artists and thinking about different ideas, and so that's exciting that is being, no update doesn't mean no thought or action. And for community engagement programs, did you want to make an update about that, or?
Well, this might be in reference a little bit like of what was talked about in the last year, what we talked about here about like partnering with schools and districts and things like that. So those are just some ideas that just being formulated. There's not any kind of concrete information or things to pass on to staff or anything like that. But now that like Pacific View is operational, just looking at what are some other things to do with that. So just brainstorming with that, because I was thinking about the model that I have with my work, my workplace. That not me personally, but or professionally, but what I've observed with other people who work in different capacities, such as learning stations and things like that. But as we know, like Pacific View has certain capacity quotas so it cannot accommodate like large numbers of individuals. So, yeah, we'll come back to that.
Okay, thank you. So now moving on to public art and supporting the city public art policy by reviewing city and privately funded public art projects, as well as donations. So for Pacific View, sorry, I'm just, so there's nothing for that one, right? I mean, sorry, I'm just looking for Pacific View. It says Campbell, Fator, and Fox, but
Yeah, it's actually the three of us, yeah. There's a typo.
So
Yeah.
it's for Pacific, well, okay, so there's artwork donations, and then there's the sculpture loan program.
right.
And then Pacific
sorry,
View, I don't
no,
know what
I
Pacific
just had a bit
View
of a
is.
mind thing. I was just
Did
looking
you s-
over at the ad hocs, and I was
Excuse me,
like,
did you
so-
skip number 6? Did you skip number 7?
No, you're right. For number 7, I think Pacific View, the ad.
No, I was
hoc,
talking about 5.
No,
well,
I think that we are on the ad hoc for artwork donations.
right.
Right.
And I don't know what, I'm not on the Pacific View ad hoc.
Right. No, okay. So there's no update for the city-funded Pacific View Center for the public art at this point. That comes under the artwork donations at the bottom, which is located at Pacific View. Sorry, I just
Yeah.
Yeah.
that was why I had a coffee before this meeting, so apologies. I think what there is, I know that there is an update for the sculpture loan program, and I'll go ahead and take the lead on that. So this one, generally we are trying to keep our updates brief, but given the fact that council did ask the commission to work specifically on this, something that they may have thought was a very straightforward ask for a recommendation, I wanted to give a bit more of an expansive update tonight. So I'll talk about the background, and then Commissioner Romer can talk about more of the action items and analysis. So just as a reminder, or a refresh, during the City Council meeting on April 10th, the Council approved 4 of the 6 sculptures. 2 were left empty, one at Leucadia Oaks Park and one at Sun Vista Park. And they were left empty due to lack of compatibility with the history and personality of the district, and also because, especially at Leucadia Oaks, a lack of choice between at least 2 sculptures. The judging criteria was discussed and generally agreed that it needed improvement. So subsequently, council asked us to draft new criteria for judging. And at our May 6th meeting, we formed an ad hoc with myself, Commissioner Romer, and Commissioner Campbell. In our effort to create the new judging rubric, we thoroughly reviewed the existing sculpture loan program and the public art policy, as well as the processes used by everyone involved. So used by staff, the commission, the jury panel, the public, and council during that first round. We then looked at the cities of Carlsbad, LA, and La Jolla to compare how their public art programs are organized and how loan programs are judged. This comparison included an in-person meeting with senior management analysts for the Carlsbad Library and Cultural Arts Department, as well as an initial conversation with Ms. Johnson of Some Pigs about how best to gather public input. This comprehensive review highlighted several areas that the ad hoc feels the city would benefit improving upon. Then we met with Administrator Murphy and Director Knopp in July, and we talked about all of that and discussed a 2-tier solution: a quick fix to fill the 2 empty sites, and a long-term overhaul of the program to be completed in time for the next complete round when all 6 sculptures will have a call out. And at that time, Director Knott made the operational decision for staff to implement this expedited process to fill those 2 pedestals at each location. So, and then the next week, the ad hoc suggested modified language for the artist call, some which was incorporated in the current open call. And in the open call that is now out to fill those 2 sites, the staff implemented a weighted rubric, which we think is a really great change, but we also think it could be made even better. So that's the background, and there's also an attachment to the work plan with something that we put together for the expedited process. One sec. As a way of suggesting public input once applications have been received.
I just wanted to share the rubric that was included is the same one that was done initially, so that there were no changes in that one. It's the same one.
Okay. I saw some change of language, like with the complement and contrast that I had never seen before that Commissioner Romer and I hadn't shared with you. No.
Direction on the short-term operational re-release was to use that original information, so we used the same rubric.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, so now I'll pass it to Commissioner Romer to update our analysis.
Thank you. Yeah, so for the revamp, we were looking to find solutions to 3 problems.
Are you mic'd?
I should be. Am I just not close enough?
Okay.
Okay. Is that better? All right. So yes, the revamp, we were aiming to find solutions to 3 problems. 1, the low number of artworks submitted. 2, the need for early community input. And 3, ineffective judging criteria and survey questions. So to increase the number of proposed sculptures, we're making the program more artist-friendly by creating an environment that encourages artist participation. So that includes to clarifying the program goals and selection criteria. So more transparent goals and criteria will help the artists and the public understand the program's purpose. So we have explored and are continuing to explore ways to involve community members in defining the themes that they'd like reflected in the art. And this transparency will guide artists in their submissions and help the public appreciate the selection process, but also help shape the jurying criteria. Another suggestion we have is to increase the artist stipend. We feel like offering a higher stipend is essential to attracting more and higher quality submissions. It would reflect the time, effort, and resources artists invest in creating their works, as well as the costs associated with the insurance. And this will hopefully not only incentivize participation, but also demonstrate respect for the artist's contributions. Then also to expand outreach and promotion. So to ensure a diverse pool of applicants, we would like to spread the word more effectively. And this would involve targeting outreach to a wider range of artistic communities. And then finally, to mitigate public criticism based on personal preference. So art can often elicit strong opinions, but public feedback should be guided by more than just personal taste. And so we are developing a framework that reminds the public of the broader context and purpose of art. And this involves early community participation. It involves providing materials that explain the artist's intent and the work's significance, and encourages viewers to consider multiple perspectives before forming an opinion. So as to the judging criteria, we would like to foster an understanding and appreciation for diversity in art. So the program showcases a diverse assortment of art that reflects different styles and viewpoints, which can extend to the materials used, the themes explored, and the forms of expression represented. So art can be decorative, it can be thought-provoking, it can be playful, it can be reflective of natural beauty, and it can address contemporary issues. Our judging criteria and selection process is open to art that serves different purposes and recognizes and values that variety. So we feel like expanding criteria for evaluation and encouraging viewers to consider multiple perspectives before forming an opinion. Public opinion can inform a deeper understanding of what art can do and why it can matter. And it will offer the Sculpture Loan Program will offer a broader spectrum of experiences and hopefully will grow more relevant and engaging. So as a next step, we are meeting with Catherine Johnson of Sumpig on September 13th to learn the best methods for engaging the Encinitas public and to discover what they value most in public sculpture. We're also working to formulate a clear mission statement for the program that supports both artists and the public during the evaluation process. And we are researching and reaching out to new and untapped communities of makers and artists who were potentially missed in previous rounds, and hopefully ensuring that they feel encouraged and supported to participate.
Okay, great. So, as I said, we're hoping to get that done by the beginning of the year, well in time to have it be approved or potentially approved by the commission and sent as a recommendation to council for approval. And yet we're also on our way to, I think, to having it done potentially well before then. So that is our update.
And I apologize, by what month were you anticipating it might go to council?
We had anticipated by early next year going to council, but that's like a very frugal estimate.
Mm-hmm. We just want to make sure that it's done before the next round. So we kind of calculated backwards, but I think we'll be done well before what we initially calculated.
So the operational re-release, if there are no submissions or if there are no submissions that meet the criteria, does the commission have a recommendation to council for those two pedestals in the interim?
Are you talking
I believe
about,
sorry.
Are you talking about now the quick fix, or are you talking about moving forward?
The re-release that's out now, the artist call that's out right now.
The quick fix, I understood pretty clearly that was now on staff shoulders because it's operational, and we have not been asked for any help with that except for help that we've offered. And what we're working on is the long-term revamp of the program itself, so that when the next call goes out for all 6 sculptures, it will be ready to roll. But if there's if there aren't any applicants or enough applicants for the 2 sites, then I think that's something that we'll all address together if it happens.
Okay, I just recall that the goal had been a little bit sooner, so I was just going for clarification on that.
The goal for what was sooner?
For the commission's recommendations to council would go a little bit sooner.
So I guess just to kind of
Just making sure I've got the information correct based on that conversation and then whatever work you've done so far.
I think we've divided it into 2 parts, the quick fix and the revamp. And I think the quick fix we discussed in our meeting, and then we've taken a step back and we've been focusing on the revamp, which will not be included in
Correct.
the quick fix.
I am only talking about the commission's work on the recommendations back to council.
Gotcha.
So you're looking at the beginning of the year.
I think, again, our update tonight is council may have asked us for a recommendation to change the judging criteria. And so we formed an ad hoc. And then when we looked at the judging criteria and we looked at the whole process, as we just stated, we found lots of areas that needed improvements that just fixing or addressing the judging criteria would not be a solve for why the sculptures were not approved in the first iteration of the program. Thus, although I don't know, I have not heard directly from any council members what their expectations are of the commission to draft a recommendation, but I would like everyone to hear who's listening that we're working very hard on a very robust recommendation that will be ready when we're done, that will be absolutely in time for the next round. If staff or the council wants us, wants more help in filling these two sites, we gave lots of recommendations that didn't have to do with an expedited process that were not adopted by staff, so I don't.
And again, it's because it was a re-release. That was the operational plan. And just to clarify, it's jurying, not judging.
Jurying.
These are
Okay.
jury.
Yeah, jurying.
Just so
Thank
that
you. That's much better. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I don't. If council needs a recommendation on something else faster, then is that what you're suggesting?
It was my understanding that the recommendations were going to be coming back sooner. That was the desire, was looking for that information. So if this is the feedback, then I just wanted to clarify that I had it right so that that can then get communicated as to when they could expect to see it.
Yeah, I would, and I'd hope all of what we shared is communicated, not just the date. Okay. So my computer is not working totally properly, but I can, so I don't have any ways to adjust.
So I don't
This
think
one
you're
that-
sharing, I think, who's sharing this?
This is just mine. Each one of us has one that we can control. And this one just froze. In the meantime, I think we can move on to, unless there's an update about Olympus Park, Commissioner Hebert.
No, nothing at this time.
Okay. Then we can move on to artwork, public artwork donations, and I'll hand it over to the ad hoc to give those updates. Is the first the Mady sculpture for Pacific View? Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe there's no new updates on that. We already submitted our recommendations, so there's nothing more from us on that one. For the second one, we have met, and we wanted to thank Campana Studios for their offer to donate the mural for the east side of Pacific View. We reviewed it, and we would love to recommend accepting the mural with a few considerations. So one, we would propose that the mural be installed for a period of 3 to 5 years. At the end of that term, we would want the space to be evaluated to determine the mural's future. The evaluation would determine whether to replace the mural with a new one and undergo a potential call for artists to consider the existing mural as an option in that new selection process, or or to remove it without replacement. So we think that this approach allows us to support Campana Studios' initiative while ensuring fairness and opportunity for other artists as well. And we thought that it aligns with Pacific View's mission to engage the local community of artists by regularly offering opportunities for new murals and to engage the public with fresh artwork. We were also thinking about recommending that any maintenance or removal of the mural be conducted at the expense of Campana Studios, and kind of a statement stated already that the mural should complement the color palette of the existing building. But that was what we came up with, and we'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
Well, I was wondering, looking at the picture where it would be proposed to put, I mean, is that space going to be the designated like mural space?
So I believe
For I mean, not only for any kind of work in the future. on the property?
Well, I believe what they suggested was the east-facing wall, which is just the front wall. That is a potential space. There are other spaces in the site that are also a possibility.
That was that was part of their donation application, was that the mural be placed there.
Is this the east-facing wall that we see pictured?
This is a west-facing wall.
That's west.
But this is west-facing.
Do you see?
I do. Oh, it is? Yeah.
Yes, this one
Yes.
faces 4th Street. There is an east-facing wall on the other side of this building that's could be, but, oh, here, I think I just got to get through a few, pardon the scrolling.
Is this, to clarify, this is inside the quad?
This is
Okay.
inside
It
the quad,
faces-
which is
it faces
facing
the
west.
parking lot.
It faces the ocean, essentially.
Don't see the parking lot there, but in that picture.
This area right here is parking lot. It looks like this photo was taken while the site was still under renovations.
So I was just, so. Right.
Correct.
So what I was wondering is, for any future, artists who want to do things, is that going to be the designated wall for this kind of work? Or are there going to be other walls available? I don't know if there are any available walls, because it's taken in, and the interior of the, inside the quad there, there's, there's the big numbers and there's the classrooms. So I don't know. I was just wondering what other spaces are available, but.
There are other spaces available. This was just the what they were proposing as part of this donation. If someone else wanted to donate another mural, we would have to consider the location of that one, and it would be also, up to the city and Pacific View to direct whether or not they have the capacity for multiple murals or.
I think one way of interpreting your comment, Commissioner Morakovitz, is saying how much consideration did the ad hoc give to the fact that just discussing, like, should murals go on the building? Or, there was a whole color palette group that worked with members of the community, and the colors, it was a big deal, and people came to this meeting to make a vote on it. Council voted on it, and now one wall, because Campana has offered this, it's absolutely worth looking, putting thought to, but having a mural on a wall is a significant statement on a building. And so I'm just wondering, like, how well considered the ad hoc do with that?
Well, just
Yeah.
like with,
Excuse me, sorry, I'd like the ad hoc to be able to answer, thanks.
Yeah, we did consider that. We were thinking about the idea of branding and the idea of potential misunderstandings of branding if it's an organization and they have a large mural on a pretty predominant wall of this new Pacific View building. We also thought about the potential in the future of naming rights for certain areas of the building. So those are things that we considered, and they went into the suggestion of limiting the time so that it's not up there in perpetuity, so that at, between 3 and 5 years, it can be reconsidered, and the space can be opened up potentially if at that time we think that there might be an open call, or we could open it up to other artists, or if there's a different way we would like to use that space.
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, I just want to say that, yeah, there are a few other places that might be potentially available for murals, but we didn't get into really scoping out all of the possibilities.
And I think I would just add to what she said, and just to say that because it is an arts building, we thought that it makes good sense to accept the donation of an artist mural, that it's appropriate given the structure and its function.
I think it's a, yeah, I'm not hesitant about the merit of that. I am just wanting to make sure that we've considered all of the components, since we're talking about a sculpture loan program where sculptures will be up for 2 years, and it's going through this whole process of public input, of an artist call, of all of this. I understand that a donation is a different process, and so I just want to make sure that we've thought thoroughly about saying yes, accepting a donation, I hear you say 3 to 5 years, and then a reconsideration if it should stay or not, which is different to say we'll accept this donation, but in 3 to 5 years, an artist call will go out. So it just, I don't have an opinion about what's right. I just want to make sure that we've thought about it, so that if this is, a great place for a rotating mural every 3 to 5 years, making sure that all of those ducks are in a row so that happens.
So we wanted to we did not want to, as part of this donation recommendation, we didn't want to establish a new program tied to the acceptance of the donation. And it is a little bit different because most of the donations that the city receives are in their permanent collection. And this one can't really be in a permanent collection per se, because all murals, wear over time. So it's in a little bit of a different category. But I hear what you're saying about, the process. And that's why we're kind of saying at the end of the 3 to 5 years, that's the point where we would recommend that the city consider like a program like the sculpture loan program, where maybe you have an open call for murals, maybe not just at Pacific View, maybe other places as well. But I think that also falls into the public art scope. So that's kind of where we left it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Definitely, I do see value in that. I think we discussed that after taking this donation, what should happen as recommendations, as opposed to should we take it in the first place or not. All the recommendations that we gave were assuming that the donation will be accepted. And then for how long, and then how, and then what will happen after that, as opposed to reviewing a process of accepting or rejecting a donation in the first place.
Another thing that I forgot to mention that we also considered was the size of branding for this mural and for any other mural. I think we did some research and decided that branding in terms of any kind of logo or signature should not be higher than 12 inches so that the focus can be on the mural.
And there's not confusion between the branding or the artist's signature and the location.
Yeah, I appreciate, obviously a lot of work has gone into it and a lot of thought. I'm not wholly comfortable that I'd be able to recommend it full-heartedly, knowing that those questions still exist.
I'm wondering if, I guess 2 months ago we had the first artwork donation, and I asked how often we get artwork donations, and I think you said you couldn't remember the last time. And now a month later, we got a second one. So I'm wondering if potentially it would make sense for us to take a step back and start to evaluate why or what we even should be considering in terms of this space, in terms of adding pieces to the city's collection, in terms of, if this comes up and then, it starts a new program, is that something that we want? So should we take a step back and consider these things and put the acceptance on hold? Just throwing that out there.
I mean,
And I can also offer just a little something in terms of, just for consideration in terms of repairs and maintenance. The city does have murals. For the most part, they are mosaic in nature, and they do require some more significant repairs than others. So while the media is different in this, should it require any sort of maintenance, that is just part of the public art process, is checking it, what needs to be maintained on it. So that is a common practice and something that needs to be considered. What would the future maintenance of it be? What would be needed in order to maintain it?
I think we did discuss that the most likely maintenance would be if there was graffiti, having the artist come back to cover that up and fix the mural. Or if it just sustained a lot of damage from, storms or sun damage, et cetera, to just refresh it. But then, of course, there's the building itself, which is, kind of separate, but part of it. I think
there's some significant information in both California and the federal public art information about what artists' rights are and what obligations are and things like that. So those things would also have to get considered, and we'd have to make sure that that the city would take all that into consideration with it. But there are a number of murals not city-owned out in the city that have been up for varying amounts of time. So I'm only bringing that up so that I didn't want the commission feeling like when the initial painting, if it's a painted mural, when it first went up, paint has a natural degradation, like its lifespan is limited, and it requires either a refreshing or, in the case of vandalism or natural disaster, having something more done to it. So those are just considerations. They're not automatically saying it can only live that long. So just so you knew that repair and maintenance is of what we do.
I was just to respond to what you said, Carla. I want us to remember that this particular artist, proposed this donation based on the rules at hand. I do think that we should base our recommendation on those rules before we go down the path of, recommending a different process. I just want to be fair to the artist in that way.
Commissioner Campbell?
I think it's pretty, we just found out about this at our last meeting, and there's a lot of factors to consider. This is a very highly coveted wall in our new art center, and by coming in and offering a donation, that's a great opportunity to get that prime position before the council has had time to interpret or even think about naming rights, or, we might be able to get money by putting a sculpture there. And with the public, I realize that the public sculpture loan program doesn't need a public. It can just use council or commission approval. I think that image that's on it should at least be something that we could decide on. We were only given one photo, one sunshine image, which I'm not a fan of, but that's not about me. It goes to the appeal of art in general. So I think it's a big request to take it as is right then and there, without any other thoughts or options for us to look at as a commission. And also that the process is undefined, that this would maybe force us to define a rotation of murals within the Pacific View that might have a precedent that we'd have to follow based on what the recommendation is based on this particular donation. So I think there's a lot to consider, and it should be thought and discussed thoroughly.
Thank you. Yeah, it seems that there is discussion. I think the fact that it's an artwork donation, we're clear that donations and loans follow two different processes as exist right now in our public art policy. This absolutely falls under donation because they're willing to put in all of the effort, the time, and potentially, I hear you guys asking for maintenance as well. Nonetheless, I think murals are a different genre than a public piece that can be moved from place to place as is deemed necessary throughout time, different than when you receive a piece. I also do agree and appreciate Commissioner Campbell's remarks that this is a prime location. It may be, there's so many mural artists who may just have no idea that they can donate a mural to the city. And it does seem like a great opportunity to potentially open it up. At the same time, I do appreciate the fact that Campana Studios took it upon themselves to, offer this and start the process. And so, it just seems like something that is worth considering and even making a recommendation to council to see if they have ideas of their own, since, just putting a sculpture piece that doesn't have, for 2 years only, that the city is paying not that much money for, that council is not comfortable without a choice for that to go in, at, say, Leucadia Oaks. And so this is... just because someone's offering to donate it, again, amazingly appreciated and maybe absolutely the right thing to receive it. But I'm not sure that that's really respecting what council has given us already as their priorities and desires to make, to go forth from there. So I'm happy to discuss it further. I'm happy to postpone it to our next meeting. I'm happy to, if you guys want to, you do feel strongly about your recommendation, we can put it to a vote. We don't have to have consensus on this commission. So.
Can I, thank you very much, that was helpful. Can I maybe summarize two positions and see if we can kind of take it from there? So one would be what we initially kind of figured out, so that the mural would go up, and then we would recommend that in a time 3 to 5 years, it's reconsidered. Potentially by that time, there is a mural program where a call goes out, or there is a different way to go about artwork donations. And so, it could come back down in 3 to 5 years. Or so that's one option. And then the other option would be that we deny, so that we do not accept this mural, or we recommend not to accept the mural, and then we recommend potentially starting some sort of mural program where there is a call to artists, and so then there is a choice of murals that can go up. Does that sound like that could be a second potential
I like your
option?
second option there, because I don't feel comfortable. I think
Just
go ahead.
Finish that statement, and then I just want to clarify a point of order, not about your statement, about the question. Go ahead.
She just presented two options, and I'm just chiming in. I like the second one. So I mean, do we make a move for that?
So it's not on our current work plan. So it's unprecedented, not unprecedented, but not common. The process by which I clarify if I'm wrong, but I believe the process would be that we would have to make an ask or a recommendation to City Council that we wanted to add something to our work plan for this year, which usually doesn't happen. But it's something that we could then, decide to put on our work plan for next year. And that's how, as far as establishing a new program would go.
Additionally, you'd need budget for it. So currently, there is no budget. There are no new programs in this fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
So if that was a recommendation, it would need to come with a request to be put into the FY 25-26 budget and pending council's approval there. So it's kind of two-part. It really, your work plan, it is very unprecedented and not likely to go back to council for approval, especially for something that doesn't have any budget right now.
So
So we could word a recommendation in a way that says, we want to accept this piece, maybe clear. Again, I think the wording would have to be very clear about what the expectation is after that 3 to 5 year period, or, and then say, with the hope of establishing this program, yada, yada, yada.
So now I would see the two options as, it sounds like we would like to see this program happen. So the question is, do we accept this and have this up while we're getting the program up and ready, because we won't be able to really start it until next year's budget, so that this is there in the meantime? Or do we request that this not be accepted and have it blank until we get this program up and running? Does that make sense?
Is that fair to say that we are not going to say deny, but we're going to say postpone the decision? Can we do that? That this could be one of the contenders, just one of the murals that do come, but we do want to select from a few at least. This happens to be the first one, which is really amazing. But instead of saying we just deny this, we can maybe hold off on this decision because we just don't have enough time or information.
I think, again, because there's no avenue to right this second to put out a call for, since the program that we're talking about doesn't exist and can't exist until the next budget, until the next fiscal year, if even approved for the budget for that program, which I think it's still, we have to deal with what's on our plate right now, which is that this is coming at us as a donation. And I think we can accept it with some stipulations. We can accept it with no stipulations. We cannot accept it. And we don't have to make that decision tonight. Generally, with donations, you want to make a pretty quick decision because you don't want to lose the chance. But considering this is not a piece of work that exists right now, that they're can complete within 2 weeks. Unless Campana has a real reason why they would, that we need to decide this month as opposed to next month, which I didn't see anything on their application that said that. I don't feel too nervous about postponing until our next meeting if some work can be done.
That was, I'm sorry, if you don't mind my jumping in, I was wondering about that too, because it mentions this is funded by a grant. So I don't know if their grant has any stipulations on a timeline for how long they have to use it before it expires or anything like that. So yeah, it seems as though that'd be worth finding out, because that was going to be my question, was how much time do we have to make a decision on this? And just a quick question, when we were talking about moving forward, potentially creating a mural process, we're talking about not donations, right? Because otherwise we wouldn't have to worry about the city budget being a budget item. We're assuming that moving forward. As you mentioned before, there haven't been a lot of donation offers. So
correct, yeah. I'm assuming the program wouldn't be donation-based.
Yeah, okay.
So
I mean, we could hope. But.
I just wanted to point out that the donation program, as far as I understand it, is equal opportunity, and anyone can submit a donation at any time. This is the only donation that's come in for the mural. I guess my recommendation based on this conversation is, we've kind of done the work to review the submission, to consider it in these different ways, and to, as part of our recommendation to City Council, and obviously they're going to make the final decision, they could decide, well, we don't have enough information, or we would like to open it up, or whatever. But I think we should probably, I would suggest that we vote on the acceptance of the donation with the recommendations we presented for tonight. I just think the process is long, and it's more fair to the artists to at least let them know, because even if we accept it, it'll probably be months before the paint goes on the wall.
And I just wanted to offer that while there have been a number of inquiries about murals on walls at Pacific View, this is the only one that has come with funding. With every recommendation, with every inquiry that comes in, I send them the same information, which is, this is the donation form, this is the policy, this is the process. And it's real money. So the funding part often is that stumbling block.
I think I hear you, and it's a good point, and likewise, thank you for that information. I think where I'm getting caught up is that any donation that comes in usually doesn't say it has to go here. Like even for the last sculpture with Pacific View, she offered it for Pacific View, but she didn't say it had to go here at Pacific View. And then the right spots were, found and recommended. And so I think I'm just feeling pause about that as far as Campana would like to, has funding for and would like to offer the city this donation of a mural at Pacific View. Awesome, but it kind of up to the city to know what wall should it go on. It just hasn't been considered. I don't mean the ad hoc hasn't considered it, but did you consider this mural on any other walls at Pacific View?
We considered how prominent it was, and that is something that gives me a little bit of pause. I think if it was a less prominent wall, I would probably have less pause, but we didn't take a tour and identify all the different places that it could go because it was so specific in the proposal.
We could take a vote for it right now.
So,
or we could.
Does that have to be, do you have to make a move for that? Do you have to make a motion, I meant to say? Make a motion for voting?
we do have to make a motion. I just want to clarify what exactly. So we're voting to accept and then reevaluate after 3 to 5 years. Is that correct?
I mean, the motion can be whatever language we want it to be.
Okay.
So,
With the detail that you are voting to make the recommendation to council to
right.
accept.
Right.
So I could see saying, we vote to accept with the stipulation of placement and duration. And, that we recommend that it stay 3 to 5 years and then be reevaluated with again, reevaluated is such a loose term because then it's a good chance it could be reevaluated and stay there for 20 years. So I think if you're feeling strongly that it shouldn't be a permanent piece, then I think that should be said. And hold on one moment. And likewise, if we feel that there may be another spot for it, that City Council would like to have some choice in where that goes, as far as it being a prominent place that feels very branded to me. If I were to come to this building and see this, where there's just colors and numbers on this whole building, and then this one place right next to where where you go in, the bathrooms are there, that kind of feels like almost a logo to, and we've been so told, like, no branding, no logo, no, like, it is not by law allowed for this building, right, for the city. It cannot have its own web page, but so that's where I'm finding pause. And I'm one voice of 7, and I'm happy to put it if you all would like to put it to a vote to say, yes, we accept for 3 to 5 years on this wall, I will second that motion
I just want to say, I think that's a really good point. And specifically when we have the mural in the same colors as the building, it's going to look even more like it's part of the building. And so we can vote if we decide not to put forward this recommendation, then the ad hoc can go back and look for potentially other places. Or if we decide not to put forth the recommendation, is that what we're voting? So I guess my question is, Could it be an option that the ad hoc reevaluates a location and comes back next month with a different proposal of a different location? Or if we vote not to recommend, is at the end of this donation? Does that make sense?
If we make a vote not, to make a recommendation to council not to accept this, then that is the end, for sure.
Okay.
And I, again, knowing that they have a grant, that they're willing to donate, that, I'm not against it at all. I actually feel the city is very lucky to have this come at it. I just want to make sure that it's considered well, considering, there's so many just first iterations with Pacific View. We're just going to do the soft opening. The doors are just opening. It's learning to define itself. All these amazing instructors have come. And so maybe this is the perfect first iteration of a mural on the wall for the first 5 years. I just want to make sure
Okay.
the recommendation we make to council is the one that we want to make.
Okay, so then I'd like to ask, would you guys like to put the motion to vote, or would you rather that we reconsider and bring back another motion next month?
Go ahead. Did you want to say?
Two things I just want to say. We have to be mindful of the clock. And so I don't know if, we're not even through a whole lot of things here. So should we make a motion to extend the time before the time escapes?
Yes. Yes. You want to make? I would go ahead and make. That
Okay, I'll
motion.
make a motion to extend it by 30 minutes till 7:30.
I second.
I'm sorry, I had to interrupt there to get that in there. So.
Let the record show that the motion passes unanimously to extend the meeting by 30 minutes until 7:30.
Okay, and now can I say my second part? Thanks. So I'm hearing like all these things here, and I'm trying to organize what I'm thinking too. And I think, so I hear the options here about making a motion. And there's just a lot of things that are just like, kind of like standing out for me when you said, maybe have it, making a motion to accept it with the criteria and then having it reevaluated in 3 to 5 years. But the question that I have is like, well, what are what's going to be the evaluation tool in 3 to 5 years if there's not an evaluation tool right now?
So I think those are really great questions. And if it's what you guys want, we can make notes of those questions, and we as an ad hoc can kind of go back and consider those and then come back next month with the answers to those questions.
Could we come back and propose to the council that they accept the donation based on all the queries that we have put? So we're not actually accepting it, neither are we denying it. We're saying, well, there has to be a process for it. Is that even an option, or are we?
We can make any recommendation to council we want. I do feel we are the Commission for the Arts, and we should be able to make a motion and vote on it and put a recommendation to council. And it seems like we're all on the same page that we are all leaning toward accepting this donation. I think it's just on what terms. And so, maybe it is just, I'm trying to come up with it, but it's like we accept this donation. We make a recommendation to council to accept Campana's donation of a mural to stay up at Pacific View from 3 to 5 years after which what? Like, I don't think reevaluated will cut it. I don't know what that means. After which, we'd want them to repaint a new mural, that we'd want them to take it down, that we want to open it up, in hopes of establishing a program next year.
We did.
So it's
We used the loose language on purpose because we didn't want to create a situation where the city was going to have to incur some kind of cost or like a just kind of like a hard stop. Because my feeling is once it is on the building, the city owns the building. They're going to ultimately decide what happens to it
It's true.
because it's on
Yeah.
their property.
Good point.
That was the way we kind of looked at it.
Okay.
I think that maybe we could encourage the studio, if they're listening tonight to this, to update their proposal to give us a little bit more flexible language in the proposal, because I think right now that we all are really excited about the opportunity for a mural, but that the proposal was so fixed, and we're artists and we want to have a little bit of say in it. And so, having an opportunity to show us different walls and or different patterns might be a good way to get more buy-in so that we feel engaged. So I just would be hesitant to put up a mural for even 3 years that was something that wasn't, didn't have any input by the community or the council or the commission on the actual location and subject.
I think the donation process is what it is. They filled out the application. There is a certain respect to be offered there, not like they've put something forward and then we can decide on it. I know I said I'm hesitant because there's a lack of choice, but those are two different areas. I know, Campana Studios has come, they've presented a few times. I know they're very willing to work with the city, to work with the community, and Jay Bell himself, I'm sure, would be open to talking about how to make it, integrated with the building and the stipulation that you guys formed about a 12-inch high signature so it doesn't get branding. Again, all of that would have to be included in our recommendation. So I'm willing to put a vote on it. I just don't know what the language is myself. But if someone else can put that together, then we should. If not, we should table it and move on to other items.
Do you want to invite Campana back to speak to you at your next meeting?
Sure. I think that's a good. It's a great suggestion as far as a way of saying, hey, we're taking this very seriously. We're excited to engage. If they come to speak and make a presentation, we can ask questions, which is different than when he came last time and spoke just with the 3 minutes at the public input session. What do you all think?
We can agendize it so that you could have that back and forth conversation.
Right.
Yeah, I also feel as though trying to refine the language tonight, it seems as though it may be a bit of an obstacle because we have to really be precise, as you say, about what the goals are. So that would give us time in the interim before they come to present to think a little more, and maybe, if the ad hoc wants to work on language, or we all just give it some thought.
And Commissioner Fator, you made a good point about keeping the language loose and the legal realities of it all. So I don't know if that's something also to consider and bring back for next meeting. If you come up with language and understand, you can talk to an attorney about it, or understand what that actually, what that accepting means.
So I think my question to you then is that responsibility on us when we make our vote to accept the donation, to have that kind of language be part of that vote?
You are making a recommendation to council, so whatever language you put in that is that recommendation you're making to them whether it's you're putting an amount of time or you're recommending a new program, whatever those pieces are, that is what you come up with. And then, of course, they may accept or not accept or modify
Right.
and move from there.
And we don't submit a written statement. It's solely based on the language that we use when the vote
Correct.
comes through. Okay, got it. Okay, I guess if I was going to make a suggestion, we should table this vote until next month. Invite the artist to come and have a question and answer session. And then at that point, if we feel like we have enough information to vote on it at that time.
You could also put out a public invitation. I mean, the public is always welcome, but you could specifically have a public hearing on it. You know, gather, invite people who might be interested in sharing their opinions with you, come and give you that. So that would give you another bit of information.
Would that, I'm just wondering if we threw that out there because we didn't do it for the other donation that we accepted, is that?
We did it in another way. The survey closed recently, so there is that data to consider. It's just not, unfortunately, it's not in this report. I'm sorry, it's not here tonight. You'll get to look at it at the next one.
Oh, for the sculpture that was
Correct.
donated?
Yeah,
The
you can have a
bronze?
public hearing. You can still decide to have a public hearing, to gather information about these donation acceptances. So that is what this forum is for the public to come and share
Okay.
their thoughts and their input. I'm not trying to advocate for something. I just want to make sure you've got all the options in front of you. I'm not interested in swaying one way or another. I just want to make sure you know what all of your options are as you are making your consideration.
And I would say, if, we meet on a very specific night once a month. If Campana Studios isn't available to come to that meeting, I feel comfortable with the ad hoc meeting with Campana Studios. It wouldn't be in a public forum, which is less desirable, yet I think we all fully trust, that you could share what happens at that meeting. And so that's another option. I would say, first ask if he can come here, and if not, then find another time that you can meet with him.
So, Commissioner Fader, did you actually make a motion? Was that a motion at all?
I don't know if there really is a motion to make.
No, I think you recommended that we table it until next month, and I would also recommend that we do that.
Okay.
I agree with
Do
you.
we need to vote on that?
I don't.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
All right, I don't think there's a motion.
Okay.
What was the determination? Do you want me to invite Campana back to your October meeting?
Yes.
Or did you want the ad hoc to meet?
I think let's give him the option, Campana, to come here. If they can't, then we can look at other options. But that way all the commissioners can ask questions.
And I would encourage the ad hoc to meet and formulate some language for the motion, for the the actual recommendation to council. Even though it may need to be edited, it's always good to have something to bounce off of with that. My computer just went wonky again, but once the agenda's up, maybe I can just peer here.
Are you able to see from your position, does that show up clearly for you or no? Does it help? No?
I am of a certain age.
I'm right there with
but
you.
this is good. So we're moving on to performing art, number 8, research free and low cost community engagement to program possibilities, and Commissioner Marakovitz did attach a report for us for that, and hopefully we all had a chance to read. It's very cool. It's okay. I can do it like this, I think. So do you want to give a brief update on that?
Sure.
So first of all, even though this is not going to be considered this year due to funding, planning, and things like that. At our last meeting, you had suggested to me to bring it. So that's why, to have some kind of tangible copies so I can show like a process. And in the meantime, I'm still figuring it out. And so you could see that this kind of, it's not engraved in stone or anything like that, but there's just some things that I've put together that kind of model another ad hoc. But anyway, still I'm in communication with some people to figure out about the funding part, because that was the question. But that's just all I want to say is you can see, you don't have to read the whole thing, but how this has been kind of developed or is being developed. There's a Q&A, or I mean FAQs I meant to say, and I just wanted to throw it out there. I would love to have some other people come and join me on Ad Hoc 8. Anybody would like to do that? Kind of by myself.
I would love to. I'm just over committed.
I'll give you free piano lessons if you like. It comes with that.
Unfortunately, we can't bribe each other here.
Anyway, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. But you can see the purpose of this is to talk about, or to present like a little bit of how it's developing. And who knows if it will sprout into anything. But I wanted to explore about the idea of mentorship, and in some way, whatever it might be. So if anybody would like to chime in or know about it, or I appreciate it. And again, free piano lessons to join me on it. Anybody want to say anything?
I really appreciated that you added it to the agenda. And did everyone see it? Okay. I was almost going to shoot an email to everyone just to make sure. So every time the agenda comes on, there are the attachments that you can see on the agenda, and then you have to open up the work plan, and the work plan has its own attachment. So the work plan had six attachments this time, which included, both of the donations, the QR code site recommendation, this Youth Piano Chamber Music Festival, which is being spoken about now, and the bylaw notes from Director Knopp. So just please be sure to open those up. And it doesn't matter so much because this was mostly informational and a good time to share, right, since you are solo on that ad hoc. But it's a really potentially like a great program that doesn't have funding yet, but is something that we can all have some discussions about in the future. So I do recommend that you read that this month, and all of that's still accessible. And then maybe next month we can have if there are any questions for Jennifer, then we can ask then. So we'll move on to the next one about the Youth Piano Concerto competition. Is there an update on that?
Sure. 3 pieces have been identified. Haydn Concerto number 11 in D, and Kabaleski number 3. It's nicknamed the Cab 3, and Mendelssohn number 1 in G minor. So there's been some discussion with the partnership with the orchestra and about with time and planning that. And I guess maybe I can ask the staff, how's that panning out?
Same as I shared last, we are currently working on scheduling. It will still be in that same general time, but working our schedule now that we have the information from the orchestra and how it works around the other city events.
Yeah, so that's about it. And will you be able to have a flyer pretty soon?
We're going to need those dates before we can do that. So as soon as we have the dates figured out, yes, we will have a flyer.
Yeah, I think the dates were proposed in the document.
They were, and that's what we're comparing against other city programming. So last year, you may recall, having back-to-back events was very challenging. So we're taking the offer from the orchestra to perhaps be more involved in certain parts and seeing how that can affect where events are within the calendar relative to available staff, available facilities, and things like that.
Okay. That's about it for me.
I appreciate your always taking the lead on this great project. I don't know if anybody saw Jennifer's great branding at the last year's holiday festival, where she dressed up in musical notes, and we had a banner made for the competition. So this is jumping ahead because I know we're going to talk about the parade, but it would be great if we could kind of make that a tradition of publicizing that event. It was a great way to kind of kick off the, awareness for the public of that it was coming up. So
Great. Okay, so moving on to number 10 under visual art, with Art Night. I know we don't have any updates, and we'll wait till the staff report. Yeah. We'll wait till we're done with the work plan for that update.
I can give it to you then if you'd rather, sure.
Okay. So visual art number 11, with the art selection panel. We'll soon be hearing about that as far as dates for jurying.
I can cover some of that. We don't have
Okay.
the date specifically determined, but just in terms of what the deadlines are for those artist calls for the 2025, I can share that now, or I can share it in my report later.
Sure, let's just kind of go through the work plan and then we'll do it all at once. Number 12, the city staff and Encinitas student advisory panel to assist with student art exhibitions at City Hall. Is there an update on that one from the ad hoc?
Similar to the exhibition, they're kind of tied together.
Uh-huh.
So you can have it now or you can have it then.
Oh my. Okay, we'll just keep going and then we'll just do it all. And then the bylaws we already covered, and I believe that moves us through our work plan. From there, we will talk about the holiday parade. So yeah, we've involved the last 2 years. We have participated, maybe longer than that. That's all I know about. It's always a ton of fun, and the commission gets a good shout out. And it is a great opportunity to let the community know that we exist and to promote some of the events that we'd like to promote. And then again, just as a way of really participating in the community and the fun of the season. So the last 2 years, we've been lucky enough to have old time cars to ride in at the front of the line. And I think we can decide if we want to participate again. In the past, we've assigned an ad hoc committee to figure out the vehicle, and there is a theme this year, which was something creativity in motion, right? So that seems relevant to us. We have a chance, and would anyone like to be on an ad hoc for that to help kind of put it together, plan, and participate?
I mean, I have enjoyed doing that. I'm happy to be
Well,
on that again, but obviously, if
before you
others would
can-
like to have an opportunity.
Before you
Yeah.
can do that, you have to, the recommendation is whether
Oh, whether we're going to do
you want
that.
to. So you need to vote whether or not you are going to participate, and then you could form an ad hoc if you do vote to participate.
I'll make a motion that we participate in the holiday parade.
I'll second. Can you clarify who seconded that? That was
Commissioner Romer.
Commissioner Romer. Thank you. Let the record show that the motion passes unanimously with all commissioners voting yes.
Thank you. Thanks for that clarification. And now we will move on to forming an ad hoc. So it sounds like Commissioner Hebert is interested. There's 2 more open spots.
Okay.
Twist your arm. He'll give you free writing lessons.
I have to find my dress again.
And again, with a third opening, anyone can hop on at, subsequent meetings if you'd like. Awesome. I can't wait to see what happens.
You were sick last year.
I was sick last year, so
Any of the new commissioners have a cool car we can use?
yeah. Yeah, if
Just
you
putting
know
that
of
out
anyone
there.
with a cool car, or,
Okay. It's very Encinitas.
if you want to do a float this year,
Yes.
yeah, let's get in the competition.
So just to clarify, I will pass along to the supervisor who is in charge of coordinating the parade that the commission has voted to participate. The commission will still need to complete an application due no later than October 31st. That application is not live yet. It will be on September 9th, and I will happily send you that link out as soon as it is live. But just put that, the ad hoc members for sure, put that on your calendar so you know that that gets in.
And who's the third person? Did we have a third?
No third yet, so we'll just leave it at 2 and then move on. I'm not doing anything else.
The parade is always the first Saturday, which this year is December 7th.
December 7th. Doesn't mean I won't ride in the car if invited, no. Okay, so we'll move on to number 9, the informational items, and 9A, Cultural Arts Division Report by Administrator Murphy.
All right, so Pacific View is rolling along, and in fact, we are recruiting for some part-time positions. The front desk customer service is because starting in January, the hours are expanding, so we're going to need more people. And starting in January, it will be open until 5 o'clock on the 5 days that it's open. And then a little later in the season, starting March 27th, Thursdays will be open until 8 o'clock. So that is what's necessitating posting now, the interviewing and so forth, so that we have the staff we need onboarded by then. Visual arts is very popular, and we are anticipating needing more. Our performing arts contract instructor resigned, and so we need to refill that position. And this last one, the Recreation Leader 2 Arts Division, is a different level, not quite as much responsibility, but can still assist with administration, customer service, front desk. So that's connected also to those expanded hours that we are looking forward to starting in 2025. We are also continuing to actively recruit contract instructors. So that's not staff, that's members of the arts community who have something really cool to share. The process, same for everybody. They go through our city website, encinitasca.gov/instructor, and read how the city works with contract instructors. And then there's two options, arts and rec. The applications are a little bit different just in some of the questions, but the process is the same. Click on the button that you want and fill out the form. Very, very easy. And from that point, a member of staff will reach out and connect with the proposing instructor and review the details. From the public, we have received a number of requests for different kinds of dance, such as ballroom, tango, line, swing. Also getting a lot of requests for single-day workshops over 6-week or, series of classes. So that's a lens through which we are looking at some of the applications and how that could be applicable so we can fill some of the interests of the public. We're working on getting programming put together for January through March that will go in the next activity guide that will get mailed to all Encinitas residents in late November, early December. I mentioned the hours that we are expanding to, and then as a reminder, this was a decision made that Pacific View will close for the holiday break just as City Hall and the Community Center do. Community Center is a little different in that they've got some other services that they offer, so while they are closed for some of the days, they remain open on very limited hours, but they are a different kind of center. Pacific View does not have those same programs, and so we'll close down for that duration, which is December 20th, 2024 through January 1st, 2025. The staff has been working on the 2025 visual art exhibition, so under artist calls, the deadline for the professional and emerging artists is September 14th for 2D and 3D. And you might recall in prior years, we always get so many more 2D than 3D and often don't get enough 3D applications to fill all of the open spots. So share the artist call widely, but specifically if you know of any three-dimensional artists, we want to make sure that they know about this opportunity. The works just need to fit in the cases that are at the community center and in the vitrines that are at the library, or the vitrines that are at the library. The student exhibitions that will be featured in City Hall, the deadline for them because of school and a number of other things is October 14th at 4 o'clock. And as a reminder, that's student artists in grades 7 through 12 who are residents or attend school in Encinitas. So they can be a resident outside of Encinitas if they attend school in Encinitas, or if they live in Encinitas but they attend school outside, those students are still eligible to apply. Icons of Encinitas is the initial theme. The installation dates will be determined once we get a little closer because the kids are going to be helping out with the installation. We're going to work with their schedules. It's a little less structured than the other where we really have to out, and as one gets deinstalled, the next gets installed. There is a student art committee being worked on. We have a couple of members already. And the applications, it's a rolling application process, and they get reviewed twice a month. And that, again, same criteria. Students they can be artists, they can just be art enthusiasts who are in grades 7 through 12, who either live in Encinitas or attend school in Encinitas. And their variety of involvement could include everything from planning the theme, planning art night activities, hanging the artwork, deinstalling the artwork. So there's a lot of ways that student committee can get involved, and we're hoping to get more students who really want to get invested in it and have those exhibitions be meaningful to them and their peers, and art night activities, same thing. They're creating things for them and their peers to come and participate and engage with art. And then the public art sculpture loan program, the operational re-release of the previous artist call for that. The schedule has been shortened in order to hopefully accommodate the installation of works in January. The deadline to receive proposed sculptures for consideration in the loan is September 22nd. And the commission would have a review of what the jury panel selections is as soon as the October meeting. It could possibly be November, depending upon what happens with the jury panel's availability. And then under city-run programs, the Tramonto Music Festival, rehearsals begin on Monday, and the 3 concerts are all next week on next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, with the artist reception on Saturday before the concert. We're very excited about that. And this week, we are installing new exhibitions. Today was at the library, and work by Kathy Carey was put in the community room, and we are expecting to install the rest of the works throughout this week. And so you should go by and check that out. And that is the end of my report.
I have a question. I'm not sure if I can ask this, but are we getting?
You can ask clarifying questions. It probably is. Go ahead.
Could you clarify if we are getting a good amount of submissions for the 2 missing sculptures in the sculpture loan program?
I do not know at this time. I have not had a chance to check and see what may have been received.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for that report. So many fun things going on. And then we will go on to the commission calendar.
So we still have Wednesdays at noon. Those concerts continue to be incredibly popular. It is heartbreaking to turn people away, but we are limited to a capacity of 170 seated. And so we always want to make sure people know the doors open at 11:30. It is first come, first to be seated, and there is no standing in the aisles because of fire lanes, capacity rules, all those kinds of things. So please come early if you would like to enjoy that music. And if you miss one, come back the next week, because even though it's not the same, it's all great. And then I covered the Tramonto Music Festival, which is September 12th, 13th, and 14th at the library. Concerts start at 7. And the the musician's reception on the 14th is from 5:30 to 6:30. It is currently only available as part of the VIP ticket that is the full pass. I believe we're going to open up some single tickets to that, but I will know that tomorrow, and it would be on the website if we are.
I have another clarifying question. So I think you mentioned earlier that, if I understood it correctly, that public was asked about the sculpture that was donated to Pacific View, the Mady Morehouse sculpture. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, and
The survey closed late last week. I apologize, I don't recall the date.
that was a digital survey that went out to?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
There was a digital survey, and then also QR codes were at the Pacific View site to capture information.
And how were those QR codes displayed?
Teetering on non-clarifying. They were posters put throughout the Pacific View site.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so number 10, I don't believe we have any commission member initiated agenda items unless someone is going to put one on for next month. Okay.
I was going to mention really quickly, since we may have this presentation, the one that I have pending may be better suited for November, so I might just shoot for that.
Okay.
If I have a potential commissioner-initiated agenda item, can I give it in about a week or so when I have more information, or do I have to say it right now if I have it?
No, you would fill out you have that document, you would fill it out and send it to Colette. Mm-hmm. And then future agenda items added by commission members, we don't have any tonight, but the same process, different result and different. And then commissioner reports. We can go down the line if anyone has anything to share as far as events you've been to or opportunities for artists. Poems to read. None. I think we're all getting to the end of the day. Okay, so I believe that adjourns our meeting. Thank you all for all the work during the month and for the month ahead, and to staff. Again, I just think it's super exciting what's going on at Pacific View, and all of the feedback I've gotten from the community. It's been really amazing. The general take is just people being like, wow, I didn't know, went up there, and that's very, very cool. And so I will adjourn this meeting at 7:10.